Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. For today's session of Daily Stock, we are going to look at the earnings, the prospective earnings for the Electronic Arts, a very well-known gaming company, and I think, or you can even be a big fan of this company. Personally, I have been avid user of various games for from the EA, and my childhood was spent playing games from the EA with my various friends. Now, even in these days, it is a well-established player, and as we have seen that the company has expanded its offerings, and now we have the live streaming offerings which have become a big hit with the gaming players, and that has started contributing more revenues than the earlier products of the company. So the company has been successfully adapting to the changing scenarios and taking advantages of the changing scenario and utilizing the evolving technologies. Now that we are going to receive its this quarter, the first quarter of financial year 2024's results later in the day, I felt that we should be taking a look on the company's fundamentals, its prior forward guidance, and along with that, also its technicals, how it is placed just prior to the release of its earning report, and what we can do to take advantage of its current pricing, the current share pricing, and what to expect moving forward. This is the last quarter's financial report, the last quarter of financial year 2023. The last quarter was also solid. The company gave record earnings from the live streaming segment, and the gaming segment also remains strong with its revenues growing quarter on quarter as well as year on year. If we go into the highlights of the last quarter's results, we get to see that the net bookings were up 11% year on year for the company, live services, and other net booking was also up in terms of the quarter on quarter as well as year on year. And live services have now started to contribute majorly with it representing almost 83% of the total revenues for the company. The EA Sports FIFA franchisee has had grown 31% year over year. So the company has been on the successful upward trajectory, and we have these various offerings from the company which are being taken positively by most of its users, and shareholders are also quite happy. When I was looking at its charts, the technical charts, this year its stock has risen substantially. Even in last couple of weeks it is up, and now it looks poised for further journey higher. And for that, if we get the earnings as per the expectations, I'm expecting a fresh breakout on the higher side, so that possibility is quite strong. Let's consider the prior quarter's numbers before we dwell on the future guidance, the forward guidance released at that point in time. And we have only a day left before we have the new numbers for this quarter as well. In last quarter, the revenues net revenue was $1.87 billion for the quarter, and for the fiscal year it was at US dollar 7.426 billion. both in terms of quarter on quarter as well as in terms of year on year. The revenues were up substantially. Let's look at the segmental results in more details. So these for the last quarter, the quarter ended 31st March. Full gaming brought in US dollar 372 million, while live services and other segment brought in $1.5 billion for the company. And if we look at these breakup, you get to see that this second segment is going quite phenomenally. But for the full game segment, there is a decline, and I think that can be attributed to the wider opening in the economy. Now the people are no more locked up in their homes, so to that extent, it can be attributed to a high base effect. This high base effect has been evident for most of the major tech players, so EA is also no exception. We had that period of COVID lockdown where the people were staying at home and utilizing various tech-based platforms. So the EA was also a major beneficiary, and we saw that the demands for gaming and these live streaming services were up. Now, for the quarter ended 31st March 2023, the live services and other has kept up pace and has also increased, but for the full game there is this contraction, but I think it is quite explained by this change in the external environment rather than anything related specifically to the company. Net revenues have been up because of these second segment's higher growth. For the company, the last quarter ended in loss, but for this quarter, the company is expecting to grow and bring in profit. So it will be interesting to see how the actual earnings pan out. We will consider the forward guidance provided at that point in time to look at the expectations of the company's management. Now, this is the business outlook provided by the company on May 9. The net revenues are expected to be approximately US dollar 7.3 to US dollar 7.7 billion. The net income is expected to be around $1 billion. Let's consider the numbers for this quarter. I think the company provided only yearly guidance. Let's look at the remaining pages to see if we have the forward guidance for this quarter as well. No, we didn't get the forward guidance in terms of the quarter. We saw that these numbers provided by the company are for yearly. So these are first quarter fiscal year 2024 expectations. All right, here we have these forward guidance provided by the company itself for this quarter, the quarter ending June 30, 2023. Now, for this quarter, the revenue is expected to be approximately US dollar 1.825 to US dollar 1.925 billion. And now the consensus is emerging that this might be breached, and we are likely to see higher than expected net revenues for this quarter. And in anticipation of that, we have even seen a strong rally in the company stocks in last couple of weeks. The company is expected to turn into a profitable one for this quarter. Last quarter, we saw that the company suffered a minor loss, but this quarter it is likely to be a different story with diluted EPS expected to be around $1 per share. So that is the forward guidance provided by the company. Now let's go into the technical side of this stock and see how this company stock is poised. So this is the share price chart for the EA. And if we look at the pricing trajectory of the company, we have seen substantial price rise since the release of last quarterly earning. The share price is almost 10% up from the that point in time from the share price prevalent in the May. And if we look at the year to date performance of the company, let's go back in time. The year to date is also higher for the company. We saw this decline in the month of Jan as the quarter was turning in red for the company. That is visible in the share price as well. But now, with expectations turning on the other side of the spectrum, with company expected to make profit, we have the share price rallying higher. Now the question is if the expected earning growth has been factored in, or if we are likely to see further rise in the share price. So for that, we have to watch out for some key levels, and I feel that as long as the share price is holding above these immediate swing low of around 128 on this daily chart, we can be fairly confident of the continuation of this uptick in the EA stock, and we should be placed accordingly. So now, in anticipation of these earnings, we can indeed go for a call option, but in that case, the stop loss is not exactly close. We have the stop loss which is relatively on the wider side. So that is one big question, whether to take that risk or whether we have a better mechanism in place which can help us in figuring out a nearby stop loss. And that is evidently not really the case. So I would say that we should deal with this share cautiously, because the stop loss is a bit wider with risk reward ratio likely to be 1 is to 1. Of course, the trajectory is upward. We are expected to get revenue growth and net profit as well. So that is the expectation, but we will have to see how much rally can be further seen in the stock. And as there has been a strong rally already in the share price, we will have to trade cautiously and plan our trades accordingly. So that is my assessment of the EA price prevailing at the current juncture. If you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. For assessment, you can even suggest the stocks which you are interested in, and we have results lined up in this week. We will be considering the stocks which are moving and which are seeing increased interest from the market participants, the volume gainers or even price gainers, price losers, highly volatile stocks can be considered. So if you have any particular stock in mind, you can write to me in the feedback, write to me in the suggestion, and I would try to cover it in a coming session. Thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous time ahead. See you next time around with a equally interesting stock to look at. Do come back next time around. Goodbye.